Hello, welcome everyone to our webinar today. Here with me is Christopher Thoman, my colleague.
Hello.
Maybe he introduces himself in a second. Our topic today is how to calculate the return on investment if you automate internal controls. It's a topic not specifically about a product that we own. It's called remQ, an automation platform, but I think it's a topic you can apply to various automation techniques or products that you might consider investing in. My name is Jens Kettler. I'm responsible for the GRC product remQ here at VOQUZ Labs, and here with me is Christopher.
Yeah, so hello everybody. So I'm Christopher. I'm head of business development for our finance and compliance solutions. And yeah, and I and Jens, we developed this return on investment calculator because we believe it's crucial to understand what are benefits of automation of internal controls. And we just want to provide guidance for our customers and clients to see the benefits. Of course, our solution brings to them, but also other solutions. So that is the purpose of the call today.
Yeah, we try to advocate automation and why. I think there's different aspects, different dimensions. Today we are only speaking about financial aspects. There is other aspects as well, such as quality, for instance, could be something that you also consider if you look into automation, but the financial aspects and the financial savings that you can achieve through automation of internal controls. And we see different aspects here, how that contributes. One, automation means you get rid of manual processes. Manual processes cost money. Of course, automation also costs money. And we're going to show how the numbers change if you implement and utilize an automated software solution rather than manual controls. That's the kind of operation or the doing of the internal controls. There is another aspect to that, which is the testing procedures, usually performed by internal or external auditors that come to you and perform these kind of tests. And those testing procedures cost money, and we're going to discuss how the automation platform can help reduce these testing costs. Right. And third, financial leakage. Now here maybe you can say it's kind of a quality feature, but real-time automated tests can improve how you detect and prevent financial leakage, overpayments, for instance. So these are different aspects that go into that. And I think today it's mostly the replacement of manual processes and the reduction in testing costs that we're gonna focus on.
Yeah.
Maybe you can walk us through the manual process, because you have worked in many projects with customers working on automation, but also working on manual testing or control processes, right? How does that work?
Yeah, correct. And so I think it's really important to understand what is a traditional process, because Jens expanded already. So we are looking on saving of hours for internal and external audit and the corresponding costs. However, we have also benefits from saving a huge amount of time during execution of internal controls. And for that reason, we would like to go through a pretty standard control, so bank master data change control. And so what usually a traditional manual process looks like. So, and we will show it later in a demo, but of course, we are not talking about only one entity. We are talking about several entities. In our example, later on, we will talk about an organization with 10 different entities. And you just need to imagine when we have a look on this traditional manual process. So control owners in each of those entities are downloading monthly an SAP bank master data change report with the information required. So they validate each change by reperforming sometimes checks in SAP and obtaining confirmations from accounts payable or different departments. And of course, when we are talking about internal controls, so it's not only validates the changes, creates this master data change report, the control owners need to prepare supporting evidence of the review, including the downloaded report, usually saved as PDF, including an approval record, reviewer sign off by signature the date. And when we are talking about internal controls under SOX regulations in the United States, so also population, sample selection, stuff like that needs to be maintained. And after that, this evidence is uploaded to SharePoint, to OneDrive from Microsoft, to G Drive from Google, or a GRC or a different repository tool. And of course, with a standard naming, versioning, and usually also some access controls. So that was part of the control execution. And when we are talking about testing, so these controls are usually tested either by internal audit or external audit, sometimes even by both, meaning then that these auditors are requesting samples from each of the entity. So we are talking here about a monthly control. So usually, I guess they will choose around about 3 samples, and will request it from each entity and scope. And they are reperforming the testing, reviewing what they received. So everything very time consuming and it costs a lot of time and hours. And when we are talking about external auditors, of course, also about external fees.
Yeah, true. And on the other hand, if you start, so to say, from the end of the process, the testing, if you have an automated software solution embedded into the SAP system, the external auditor or the internal auditor, what they can review is a complete log of all the activities, starting from was the control performed through the automated software, through what kind of changes were detected, who approved or rejected certain changes, along with documentation in place why the approval or rejection was performed. And you have a complete in-system review possibility, a complete log of all the activities in one system. So it means also that the external review, for instance, the testing of the control can be performed without even interacting with the person who is responsible for the control and actually executing the control. So I think that's a very different view on how these controls then actually work. And Christopher will walk us through a detailed discussion and calculation of these things. But what we found, just as a kind of taking the results here a little bit already, and you have significant time savings because the control execution and also the control testing can be performed much faster. So in particular, if we talk about the external testing, the costs that you pay to your audit company, because they have a reduction in time, you can achieve significant savings. The 27% is actually something that is also confirmed by a study of the consulting and research group Gartner. They looked into that. There's a research paper out there from them that says that the reduction in external testing costs is very significant. Yeah, and I mean quality, because you're not just testing a sample of all the transactions, but all transactions in almost real time. It definitely can significantly also reduce financial leakage through overpayments or through revenue that was not properly recognized, for instance, as well. So Christopher, walk us through the details and the numbers.
Yeah, right. So right now, you see on this slide a cost breakdown. And so I think we will go into all the details in the demo of our tool we developed. But there are a few assumptions which are required to understand to understand how a return on investment calculation should look like. So first of all, we have or need an assumption about the hours for control execution. So we will go with 24 hours for a standard control, for monthly control. So that means monthly control needs to be executed once per month. So when we are talking about 24 hours, we are saying, okay, you need at least 24 hours per year. So meaning control execution per month is 2 hours, which is, I believe, quite reasonable. And so when we are talking about 10 controls and 10 legal entities, we are talking about 2,400 hours per year. So that is the assumption we will use for our calculation. And then, of course, we need to evaluate the rate we are using for our internal costs and also for our external costs. So we are right now here in Germany, so we are using 50 euros per hour. Of course, if you are using stuff in India or other territories, it's probably a little bit cheaper. When we are talking about the United States, it's probably a bit more expensive, but that's something, of course, everyone can adjust. And when we take this into consideration, so we will have 50 euros per hour, 24 controls. So a control costs the company in our calculation 1,200 euros per year. And when we are talking about this 10 legal entities, 10 controls, this sums up to 120,000 euros. So this is the time and the money spent for internal costs. And then, of course, internal controls require an validation by external audit. And our assumptions here is an hourly rate of 200 euros. And we believe that they will need 24 hours for testing. So testing includes usually test of design and test of operating effectiveness. So this will be in total 4,800 per control and 480,000 for 100 controls. So again, 10 entities and 10 controls. So in total, we will have round about 6,000 euros per hour, per control, I'm sorry, and 600,000 overall annual cost. And so let's see how this looks like in a calculation tool we have developed. So let's maybe start first of all with information we need to enter. So as already said, so we are talking in our calculation about 10 entities, 10 controls. We are maintaining here's our hourly rate for internal staff and also the hourly rate for the external auditors. Here are our further assumptions maintained. So 24 hours per control per year. So bases are monthly controls. And here you find what Jens explained, that they can really save up to 70% on average through controls automation. And entering all this information here, you see here a cost baseline, which is 120,000 euros. The cost after automation are 36,000 euros. And here we go with our savings through automation. And so this is a part where we are talking about control performance. And let's move on with testing. So we have here this two parties, so internal audit and external audit. And the calculation looks quite similar for both. The only difference we have is that we have a different hourly rate for internal audit and external audit. So let's move up again. So for internal, we are calculating with 50 euros and external 200 euros. And we have here also a coverage, because it is not necessarily required that internal audit will test all of the controls. Probably they have only 75% of it in scope. That could be the same for external audit. But when we are talking about only 10 controls, we are assuming right now all of them are key controls, so it needs to be tested by both parties, so internal and external audit. And here again, the assumption based on this Gardner study with 27% savings through automation. So we have here total testing fees of 200,000, internal savings 10,800 euros, and external savings of 43,200. At least our solution, remQ, we have this internal control automation, but we have also some financial controls which are not heavily referring to internal controls. For example, we have a duplicate invoice detection control, and we have several different payment controls which are automatically checking, were an invoice paid twice or not. And usually, so at least our clients are reporting this to us on a regular basis. So these two controls at least are working excellent. So we believe that, well, maintaining here, let's say per year, 20,000, which is I think a very small amount, but this money was prevented to be paid twice by using our software. And we have, of course, also some payment term controls. So what does this payment term controls doing? They are checking if the right payment terms were used, if cash discounts were used, and our clients can save here money as well. Good. So we talked right now about automation of control performance, of testing benefits, other benefits. And of course, buying a software means you need to pay license per year. You have implementation and training, which is required for your stuff. And usually buying a software means also that you have admin hours per year. So for this calculation, we are assuming, yes, for small companies, they will probably pay about 50,000 euros per year for a remQ license. Implementation and training for this 10 standard controls will be around about 20,000 euros. And internal hours for admin. So what does admin means? Installation, granting access rights, maintaining client-specific controls, wording, set up new controls, and all this work. We have assumed here 240 hours per year. And again, this 240 hours will be using the 50 euros as basis for calculation of costs. So, and let's go to the bottom of our calculation. So we have here a summary of our annual savings. So internal savings. So these are savings through control automation and also the savings for testing of internal controls. Plus this benefits from our duplicate invoice detection control and from our payment term controls. So we have considered this only in the first year, but of course, it's also possible to include this. So by here doing a tick mark, so it will be considered in the second and third year as well. But for now, let's go only with some benefits in the first year because, well, probably processes will be adjusted, improved. So that could be an argument for someone saying, okay, these are one-time effects. Good. So, and how about costs? No, sorry, I forgot one thing. So you see here the totals of 168,000 in the first year, 138,000 in the second, and in the third year. So, and let's go to the costs. So we have the license costs per year, implementation and training is usually something that is required only in the first year. And the remQ admin hours are also considered in the first, second, and third year. So, and this sums up to cost of 82,000 euros in the first year and 62,000 in the second and the third year. And yeah, and now it's quite easy to have a look on the net benefit and the return on investment. So, and we are talking about only 10 controls in 10 legal entities. So we have already in the first year a return on investment of over 104% and 122.6% in the second and the third year. Yeah, well, I think there's no reason to not automate internal controls. Of course, using our tool or also a competitor, but the benefits I believe are quite clear, and we would like to be as much as possible transparent here. Using our savings calculator, you can really adjust everything you need. You can use a different hourly rate. You can also, when you don't believe, for example, that our 70% are reasonable, you can just go down to, let's say, 50%. So let's see what is the impact here. Yeah, again, 75%. I think before we have here something like it was, oh, sorry, I forgot it. Let's go back. 104% and now 75%. And yeah, so it's really, I think, a great tool. And it's showing, okay, benefits of automation, benefits of a centralized testing approach from internal audit and external audit. And yeah, as Jens already said, it's not only about automation, it's also to have a better quality, strengthens compliance, and be more future ready for new controls.
I think one takeaway could also be, I think the more legal entities you have, of course, the bigger the return will be, because it's kind of a template-driven approach. You implement the control once, and you can easily apply and roll it out over any number of legal entities. So the higher the number is, the more complex the organization is, the bigger the return, and the more interesting the automation aspects become. Great. I think, Christopher, cool tool, really. I think it will be on our website, or yeah.
Yes. So because we will have a savings calculator on our website, so everyone can calculate, okay, what are annual savings by using automation tools, and providing this total tool. It's something we share usually with clients when we are dealing with them and they are interested in our software. So we usually provide them a proposal of our tool, license fees, implementation, so everything client needs to have, and then we are granting our clients access to this tool.
Right. Cool. Let's wrap it up in a quick question and answers. Let's see if somebody has some questions. We'll look into this and just take a second here.
Excellent. Here we are. Thanks everybody for joining. Thanks Jens. Thanks Christopher for presenting, actually giving us an outlook on what the benefits would be if you would be able to automate your internal controls. I'll jump straight away to one of the questions that came in, and it says, what's there to prepare from the customer side to implement automated controls? I understand it as technically as well as strategically. What should I do before I actually kick it off?
Yeah, I think the other question I would answer first, Stefan, the one who owns the tool, finance, IT, or the compliance team. Yeah, because from that you can derive how you prepare that, I believe. And so we see two different angles that customers look at this from. One is that's really kind of still focused in the early phases, at least, who's buying the tool. I don't know, maybe the procurement department buys the tool to run its own controls, doesn't care about other parts of the finance department, doesn't care about the sales department. Then it's easy to do. Otherwise, I believe finance department is the best team if it's a kind of a generally used a tool across different lines of business and across different organizational units, because they're using it themselves. And usually what we saw also is they have the greatest benefit, because they have most controls, so to say, that are also time consuming, complex controls, but could be different for other customers as well.
What's there to prepare?
Yeah, well, I mean, Christopher, sorry.
Yeah, maybe let me start first. So I believe that's a little bit depending on the client and the maturity of internal controls, because, well, when we are talking to a company which is very long on a stock exchange, let's take companies in the United States, so they usually have already a control framework, probably also semi-automated. So we are usually doing a proof of concept, so reviewing the existing control framework and checking, okay, what can be automated, what is the potential. So I think that is the first scenario. The second one is, yeah, to do really also a proof of concept and see, okay, what do you need, what can we do, and align on a strategy. Okay, that is what we want to do with remQ. So, and everything else in between, I would say.
Another one is, what's the duration and the time frame for the transition? I suppose this is also depends on the size of the company and the department, but can we sort of get a from to and you compare it to a smaller company with, let's say, almost non-automated controls going over to one that already has stuff in place and wants to streamline it?
Well, I believe we have seen everything in between. So usually when the client is prepared and staff have capacity, it's even possible to implement something within 4 to 6 weeks for a smaller entity. And we have also clients where we're working continuously to improve everything. So first implementation took 6 months. And the reason is usually not caused by us that it takes so much time, because while IT needs a long time to implement the tools, there are some questions need to be answered internally. So that's not something we can influence. So it's always client depending.
I have a cost-specific question. Not sure whether we can answer this here now or if this needs a follow-up, but how did the unit estimate of 1,200 euro per control has been determined? Where does that come from? So how do
Well, I think it was calculated based on our assumptions. So we said, okay, we have 10 controls. So just 1 second, let me go. I think it was 1,200, right?
Exactly, 1,200, yeah.
So I think, yeah, I think I would need some time to recap that, because I want to avoid answering something wrong. But in general, the cost estimate is quite simple to calculate. So you need an assumption about the hours. So we said, okay, a control owner needs for a monthly control per year 24 hours. When we have 10 different legal entities, that means we have 240 hours. And when we have 10 controls, we are talking about 2,400 hours. So that was, I think, our key assumption for the calculation.
Thanks for this. This is, by the way, very typical for Christopher actually to be very accurate on his answer. And that would be the same way it would go if you would decide to go and have a POC and check the system and see where he can help you with quite a lot of experience in various branches and sizes of companies. We've come to an end with the questions here. If you'll probably want to let this sink in, have a look, maybe share with colleagues and think about when and how this could be kicked off, maybe in the new year, one of the New Year's resolutions probably. Reach out to us at labs@voquuzlabs.com. Christopher is also present, as well as Jens, on LinkedIn, if that's your preferred way of communication. Anyway, however, whatever you choose to do, put us to the test, have a look at this. This is not selling a fake Rolex out of your trench coat. It's actually numbers and can be checked and rechecked. So let's do that. And any words from you, Christopher and Jens, before we shut down?
Well, we are always happy for any discussions. So about our tool, about calculation of return on investments, about control frameworks. So if someone is interested, reach out to us. So we are always happy to talk to you.
Jens?
Merry Christmas to everyone.
Merry Christmas to everyone. What a good word for end of it. Thanks very much. Cheers, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.